let me ask you this. Since the pandemic, what would you say probably were some of the challenges that contractors have faced or are still facing? You know, like I guess like I've heard a lot about delays in shipment of materials. Can you elaborate a little bit more about some of these challenges?
Well, I've done work where even from the time of Irma, we had some challenges of getting material on island. There were delay time because of, I guess, people, the companies being overbooked. Since the pandemic, they've been short staffed. Of the situation that's been happening out in California, where a lot of boats were just docked out to sea, and people are not turning up to work. So it's been hard for many subcontractors, even to the point where if you went to Miami to do your own pricing and do your own buying, sometimes getting it to the island is not so easy. So what I found out the easiest way to deal with that would be to actually go to the major material companies on island like KB Home and Do It Center, or let them do it, because certainly they're the ones that are more recognized, and they would certainly be able to get their stuff in much more easier than you or I would. So yeah, it's been difficult, but those who have their ties with persons in the states that can do their pickup, they somehow get their stuff in. But the easiest way to go would be to use one of the companies on island to do your shopping.
Right. And does this apply? Are you just saying like just for a general basic home or villa? This is probably the easiest way to go versus a development, a larger scale development, then sourcing your own material versus going through one of the companies here
Yeah,
on island.
right. The much bigger developments, of course, they would have um, their base set up in the states or wherever they're getting the stuff from, and you know they would have an easier time because of the large quantity that you're dealing with. Get stuff shipped in. They're spending the big money.
Okay.
So yeah,
So would you say this is just one of the main challenges that you're seeing since the pandemic, just a delay in shipment because of the situation?
yeah, yes, that's been one of the situations. But since the pandemic as well, I've seen a tremendous rise in cost of material as well. Um, you know, a sheet of plywood now, red edge plywood, as can cost as much as $110 a sheet. You know, um, I was comparing prices with some of the receipts I had just 3 years ago, comparing with now, and it's almost scary for somebody that's trying to build their first home when they look at what it's going to cost, and they might decide to think twice about doing it. But that's just the way life is, and we have to work with what we have right now.
Right. So basically, I mean, by you saying that, it makes me feel like, say, for example, if I decide just I want to build my first home, I need to consider the real size of my building. Don't try to just build something elaborate for the sake of having a big building, but just try to find something that's comfortable and affordable when I'm building because of the higher cost of construction.
Yeah, you have to be realistic in building, and first of all, um, know what it is that you want to build, why you're building it, and um, for instance, um, at one point, the building per square foot cost was around $280 to maybe 325 a square foot some time ago, and right now that price is now up to $500 a square foot. And that's not a really high end spec house. It's just that the cost of everything has gone up. There are companies that are building as high as $1,200 a square foot. But of course, the cost per square foot depends on the specs of the house. If that's a standard house, you probably can get away with certain things. If, like, for instance, let me use it for example. You could be doing a house and the front door might be, say, $8,000. So you not price that house the same as if you were just putting in a door that was 800 or $1,000. So um, in building, the person that's doing it have to have a real clear understanding of what it is that they want, and not try to do things that later on they change their mind, because there's something called a change order in construction where companies charge you for changing something right in the middle of the construction. Oh, I don't like where this is going. I want to change this. I want to do this. And that can add up too. That could be the difference between another 5 to 10 grand because you're not certain of what you want. So I often say to clients, before you say, let's go, or let's get the project moving, take some time to really make sure everything that you want to do is the way it's settled to be. Because later on, once you start changing stuff up, it will cost.